Hello and welcome to the France 24 interview. I'm Eduardo Quay. My guest today is one of the most accomplished journalists of his generation. A staff writer at the New Yorker magazine, Steve Coll has won numerous journalistic awards, including 2 Pulitzer Prizes. The first in 1990 with David Weiss for a series on the Securities and Exchange Commission in the United States. The second in 2005 for his book, Ghost Wars. The author of 7 books, Mr. Coll worked for 20 years as a foreign correspondent and senior editor at The Washington Post. Apparently not happy with all of these accomplishments, last July he took on another challenge when he became the dean of the Columbia University Graduate School of Journalism in New York, widely considered to be the best journalism school in the United States and a leader in educating students as they enter the digital age. Welcome to Paris, Mr. Coll, and welcome to France 24. We're very happy to have you here.
Thank you, Roberto. Glad to be here.
My first question is not going to be a surprise. It's about the sale of the Washington Post to Jeff Bezos of Amazon, a sale that stunned the journalism world, but also beyond the journalism world. And it has kind of become a symbol that the age of print journalism is over and we're moving into a new business model. And I was just wondering if this is not a modern version of Mark Twain's famous saying that reports of his demise were highly exaggerated.
Well, I hope the demise of the Washington Post is not imminent, and I hope that Mr. Bezos has the ability to solve the business equation that has defeated the Graham family and many other newspaper owners in the United States. His arrival certainly gives the newsroom a chance to adapt successfully and to escape a period of declining revenue and shrinking jobs that have really undermined the Post's place as one of the great newspapers in the United States. It's still a great paper, but it really needs to be revived.
Well, he hasn't really said very much about what his plans are, other than he plans to listen. And he says that he's going to try to use the same formula that he used at Amazon, which is to say to put the customer or the reader first, to be inventive, and to be patient. And he does have very deep pockets. So what do you think he could do with the newspaper? And do you have any advice for him? What should he do with the newspaper?
Well, I mean, he made an appearance in the newsroom recently, last week, and I talked to some former colleagues, and he made a very strong first impression. He's a very lively character. He seems committed to this project. The characteristics he brings, as you mentioned, that are the most encouraging are that he has a record of patience. At Amazon, he built the company for the long run, despite a lot of pressure from Wall Street and shareholders to move toward profitability faster. He said that he was trying to build something to last. Well, that's a mindset, and I hope that he'll bring that mindset to the Washington Post because he'll need it. Turning around a big newspaper franchise and adapting its revenue to the digital age is going to be difficult. The thing that I think the newsroom is most wary of is what you mentioned, which is that Amazon has been built in part on putting reader preferences or customer preferences first. And I don't think the news business can thrive as a popularity contest. There are websites and digital properties like BuzzFeed that essentially deliver to the customer whatever they want. If they want videos of cats playing, then you'll get a lot of cats playing. And of course, news and serious journalism has to be cognizant of its audience and its audience's concerns, but it also has to set an agenda and be willing to challenge power and to take on unpopular subjects because it's in the public interest to do so.
Do you think that it makes any sense for the Washington Post or other big newspapers such as the New York Times, Los Angeles Times, newspapers in Europe, to continue to print? Isn't it more logical to just move to digital altogether?
I think there will come a time when all of these properties will be solely digital, or print will just be an ancillary, maybe a print-on-demand aspect, special issues and that sort of thing. For now, though, in the United States at least, the business model associated with print is where the revenue comes from. And the digital properties, although they're growing, are not yet generating enough advertising or other kinds of revenue to pay for the newsroom. So this transition has to be managed slowly. I think there are some experiments going on in big cities in the United States where struggling print newspapers have gone all digital, but they haven't yet succeeded, and that's, I think, struck a note of caution.
The other issue raised by the sale of the Post to Amazon is that, as you know, Amazon was facing here in Europe, particularly in England and in Germany, antitrust lawsuits, which have been dropped because it agreed to a certain number of things. But I believe also there is some talk in the United States about that. And the question is it good for journalism and for democracy in general to have somebody, a multi-millionaire owner, and he's not the only one, and they have their own agenda, logically enough, to be the proprietors of such influential newspapers? Is that really good for a democracy?
It raises legitimate questions, and it sort of depends on how the owner exercises his power. I mean, in the case of the Graham family, the previous owners of the Washington Post since the 1930s, they were scrupulous about allowing the newsroom total independence. Indeed, some of the hardest investigations of Washington Post company businesses were carried out by the Washington Post without any interference from the owner. I can tell you he wasn't happy about the investigations, but he didn't interfere. Now, the question facing Jeff Bezos, will he exercise the same restraint? Amazon does have a lot of economic and public policy interests in the United States. Tax policy is a fundamental part of their business, and you could imagine an unscrupulous owner trying to use his influence at the Washington Post for these self-interested reasons. I assume, though, that he will be like a lot of other billionaire media owners, where his own wealth could be a strength because it gives him independence. He can withstand lawsuits. He doesn't have to be intimidated by government or any other industry leader. So let's hope that he strikes that independent line.
Another issue with this journalism, which has been so affected, of course, by the entire internet revolution, is that some people argue that journalism is basically the same, the way reporters and writers operate is basically the same, and that the only thing that has changed is the delivery system. Do you agree with that, or do you think that overall the quality has diminished?
I think I agree that fundamentally journalism is about reporting, and it's about asking hard questions about closed institutions, about government, about politics. It's about traveling to hard places and trying to be a professional witness to terrible events. That hasn't changed across 150 years. That's where great journalism has always come from.
There's a lot less of it, it seems now.
Well, the business models in the United States that could fund such journalism have been disrupted by the digital age, and the new models have not yet generated either a culture or an economic model to support that level of reporting, whether it's at state governments around the United States, whether it's at school boards, City Hall, or internationally. Now, on a global basis, as France 24 represents, there are more and more channels coming up in the digital age from more and more perspectives, from Russian perspectives, Chinese perspectives, European perspectives, Arab perspectives. And so I think for international news, the world is enriched by technological and other changes in the media industry. But in the United States, the loss of newspaper newsrooms has been a big loss for our democracy. I hope that it will be replaced by these new models, but it hasn't happened yet.
There's some debate here as well that with the increasing number of newspapers that have paywalls, that we may be moving to a journalism for the rich and for the elite that will get very high quality journalism, but the mass of the population will be receiving the dregs of journalism, very poor quality journalism. You think that is a real danger?
I think that is a real danger. And I think that Don Graham, the family that sold the Washington Post to Jeff Bezos, was especially anxious about that, and they were really working to try to avoid a sale that might take the Post in a more elite direction, because that family was very committed to popular circulation and high quality. And part of the sadness that they felt was the discovery that maybe quality doesn't lend itself anymore to a popular strategy. But I do think it's a serious danger. Look, in the history of journalism, it's always been easy to fund news if it affected market prices or businesses or the world of money. people will pay for news if it will help them make money, but will they pay for news if it's about the schoolhouse down the street or the politician who's stealing from or foreign countries far away? How do we? But that's still essential to who we are as democracies and as a global population.
Unfortunately, we're running out of time, but I would like to ask you briefly, as Dean of the Columbia Journalism School, I mentioned that it's been a leader in moving towards the digital age. When I was there, we were still using typewriters. Do you have any plans to continue in that, any concrete plans to continue in that direction?
Yeah, we must push in that direction. We're building new centers and investing in new technologies, but I think the big idea that we have to work with is that we have to do two things simultaneously that are difficult to do at the same time. One is to think radically about how technology is changing the tools and the possibilities of journalism, because the digital age is fundamental in the way that it changes the relationship between broadcasters and audiences, between journalists and readers. So we have to think very radically, and at the same time we have to commit ourselves to the tradition, the incumbent tradition of reporting and the values of great investigative journalism, great foreign correspondence. So we have to be great traditionalists and radical new thinkers at the same time, which is a fun problem to work with.
Okay, I'm really sorry we're out of time. I know as a journalist you will understand that. Thank you so much for coming and to see us today. Steve Coll, the Dean of the Columbia University School of Journalism in New York. And stay tuned for more news on France 24 in French, in English, and in Arabic.